Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced, blockbuster podcast, Coffee with Carib Carter, coming to you exclusively from where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, fill up your favorite coffee mug and join your expert and your guide, Carib Carter Clues.
Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Carib Carter. Here we go. Episode 58. 58, that's a year and 6 weeks. Incredible. So we're into year 2. Fantastic. And I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. I think a lot of you are, because I really appreciate your emails. I get text messages, occasionally phone calls, which is just fantastic. And today I think we have really just a great program coming up, a great visit coming up, packed with some solid information, very, very useful and important information. Okay, important information. And we're also going to get a chance to talk with our super producer, Gary, about some ways that you can help spread the word so we can help more people enjoy the good life at a great price in Central and South America. So we're gonna start off early with a great interview with a fellow from fairtax.org. Now, this is very, very important because, the U.S. is one of the few countries in the world that follows you everywhere you go. And even if what you're doing has nothing to do with the United States, grabs their huge chunk of income taxes from you. Okay. And it's getting worse. Okay. Getting worse every day. So we have this interview coming up with the Fair Tax Grassroots Outreach Chairman. Okay. Great guy. His name is Jim Bennett. And Jim's an expert. He's been doing this for a long time. And he's going to talk to you about where taxes stand now, some things you can do even now to help alleviate your current tax burden, and how we can help protect you when you make your move offshore, folks. Because remember, taxes in the Central American countries are minuscule. As a matter of fact, I think that if you're a resident in Honduras, okay, you don't pay Honduran taxes, all right? So we want to make it so, since you're not using any services in the U.S., you don't have to pay U.S. taxes either. So Jim can help us understand a little bit about that. So that's a very, very important interview coming up. We're going to do $1,000 listing Caribbean, a little different this time, because I want to talk to you about 2 different places, both of which we've discussed a little bit before, but I'm going to point up the differences so you know which is best for you, okay? Which is best for you, because that's what's important. You need to look and say, okay, what kind of place do I want to live in? And God knows, in the past year, in $1,000 listing Caribbean, we've covered the spectrum, haven't we? From the luxurious to off the grid, for those of you who are capable of that. And God, I wish I were, because if I were, I'd grab that place up. We talked to, what was it, Guatemala a couple of weeks ago. No, Peru, a couple of weeks ago. That was so far out off the grid, near a city, was La Quintos or something. You could only get to the city near your home that you could buy there. I think it was like under $80,000. You only get to the city by boat or plane. So that's definitely off the grid for those of you who are capable of doing that. And I know a lot of you are. I mentioned our super producer coming up in a few minutes, Gary Logan. He could live entirely off the grid. Trust me. There's nothing. I'm talking about roof, electricity, plumbing, even my car that this guy can't fix. So he could do it. But the ones we're going to talk about today are not off the grid, but they're 2 different levels of residential resort type community. So I think you're going to find this interesting. One of them have a video that I cut earlier that we're going to stick in there. Sometimes I hate to put my own video up. It looks a little immodest, but I think you're going to like this video because it really lends some perspective for you. And we're going to finish up with a Carib Carter minute that, to me, is one of the most important, honest to God, most important that we have done yet. Features a guy that I just love. And I think when I say his name, some of you are going to say, man, I love that guy too. Chaz Palminteri. Okay. Yeah, some of you are saying Bronx Tale. Yeah, that guy, the Sonny off Bronx Tale. And his videos, by the way, he does a great video series. Just FYI, uh, Chaz Palminteri's Old School, okay? And they are great videos. Just look them up. I think you're going to love them. I watch them. I just love. And this is an excerpt, a little excerpt I'm going to show you that really gives some perspective that I think you're going to find very useful when it comes to getting that motivation, getting that drive and confidence. That's what I was looking for to make you move offshore. Okay, but first, I want to talk to you just for a few minutes with our super producer Gary about some things you can do to help spread the word about Coffee with Carib Carter so that others can benefit from it as well. Okay, it's very important. Gary, can you come in, please? Here we go. There we go. Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing
good.
Trying to keep this these effects going.
Excellent. So what are some of the things you've mentioned to me? Several actions that people can take, that not time consuming, actions people can take that'll help spread the word. Can you share those with us? And folks, if you do, these would be fantastic.
Yeah. If we could just get you guys to click the subscribe button on the YouTube and share this video, hit the like button. If you don't like the video, I understand. Don't like the video, but if you do, just click the little thumbs up button down below here, and that helps YouTube place us higher in their algorithm. And if you haven't already, there's a little bell down that way. That'll let you know as soon as we post a video. That will put it will send you a notification saying, hey, there's a new video up by the Offshore Club. Watch it if you want, watch it if you don't. You know what I mean? You don't have to. But again, it helps further their algorithm and get us out to more people, because there's a lot of people out there like you guys who, they could use this information. And again, we don't charge people for this. Carter, Mike, Joel, these guys, they do this for nothing. So if you guys could just help out and push those once in a while, that'd be great. And leave a comment once in a while. I'm here 24/7 to look at these comments. If you got a question for Carter or Mike or anyone, leave it in the comments below and we'll get back to you. We're happy to help.
Fantastic. All right, folks, there you got it from the expert. He is our social media expert. Gary, thank you. Matter of fact,
no problem, Carter.
I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you, Gary. That's great information, folks, and it'll be a tremendous help to all the podcasts we do at your Offshore Club, and to your friends and neighbors who also need this vital information that we're sharing every day of the week. Now, I think we have a podcast every day of the week, which is fantastic, and we're going to have more of them. I promise you, we will have more of them. And because I got your request, and in fact, sometimes your requests come in emails, text messages, even phone calls. And I forgot to say at the beginning of the program that today is mail call, Carib Carter mail call day. Every once in a while, about every 6 weeks or so, I take a few minutes just to answer a couple emails that are representative of the kinds of questions and comments, observations, suggestions that I get from you all. So let's do two of them today. And I'll give everybody the same answers that I sent to these two people whose emails I'm going to read now. All right, so let's take the first one. This is from Sammy B in New York. Okay, he says, Carib Carter, right now, I'm just not ready to make a move offshore. Okay, but I want you to know that I like getting my daily Gazette. Remember, the Gazette, folks, is free. Any of you who are watching now, maybe your first time watcher, and even some regulars who haven't yet subscribed, the Offshore Club Gazette at offshore.club is free, daily newsletter that really keeps you up to date on all of your best interests offshore. Okay, what's going on, the good, the bad, the ugly, opportunities, everything. So he's saying he likes the Gazette, okay, which I appreciate. And I especially like the podcast with Joel Nagel and Mike Cobb. Joel Nagels is on every Thursday. That's the Global Wealth Fortress Report. Joel's America's #1 asset protection attorney. He gives you for free the information that he has, that clients of his who are worth tens of millions that pay for. So that's fantastic. That's a good deal. And Mike Cobb, the other podcast is on Friday, Offshore Investment Report. Mike is the #1 offshore investor throughout the Caribbean, okay? Owns 5 or 6 gorgeous residential resort communities. And so he tells you what to look for in investments offshore. Again, priceless information. Great guy. Both of these are just great guys, okay? And he adds in, Sammy adds, and I even like coffee with Carib Carter, LOL, laughing out loud. Okay, he says, what do you say to people like me who just can't seem to make up our minds about the move offshore? What I say to you, first of all, is take your time, okay? Take your time. Not too long, because prices are going up. And right now it's a buyer's market. I don't want you to miss out on this, folks, a buyer's market, okay? Gorgeous, incredible land. It's a buyer's market. So Sammy and everyone else has the same question. Take your time to be deliberate, but don't take your time to procrastinate. I guess that's the best way to say it, isn't it? Take your time to be deliberate, but don't take your time to procrastinate, because the bargains are too good to pass up, okay? You have a few extra thousand, buy a piece of land. You don't have to move right now, but then you have the land. Beachfront property, you can get there's some you can get for $10,000, okay? And grab it now, okay? Grab it now. In a minute, we're going to talk about the home I bought at La Ceiba Beach Club with the home, gorgeous home for $30,000 on the beach. The front yard's the beach. The front yard's the beach. So start looking now and even grabbing some stuff now, okay? That does 2 things for you. One, it gets your investment in early. Smart investors invest early, okay? Get your investment in early. The other thing it does is you have your escape route then, okay? If things in the U.S. keep going to hell in a handcart, which they are now, you have your place you can go to. You already got it. You don't have to run around and say, I got to grab someone. You've got it. You've got it. So my advice to Sammy is you're doing everything right. You're doing everything right in getting all the material from your offshore club, watching these podcasts, learning about the different kinds of property. Remember, every week I share with you another incredible property at a bargain price. Grab one of those. I did. Remember, it was one of those I talked about on this show that I bought, okay, which I'm, again, going to show you later. And get it, look them over. Then when you decide, go ahead, don't hesitate then. Make your move, okay? Make your move. When the time comes, you'll know it's the time. You'll know it's time. You'll know it's time because you'll say, I can't afford to pass up anything else because time is passing me, okay? Time is passing by, so I can't afford to pass up. It's just that simple, okay? So there's the answer. Second letter, okay? It's from Betty M. in Illinois. Mr. Clues, very respectful. Thank you for all the great information about the little countries in Central America. A lot of little countries in Central America. I'm not as old as you. Betty, nobody is. Okay? I'm not as old as you, but I do remember when our country, the U.S., seemed like a smaller, nicer place where people got along and were friendly, even if they didn't know each other. How often do you see that now? Thanks to the COVID hoax, people are scared to death to say, hi, hey, how you doing? We used to see that all the time. Okay, that's where it is. Now it's gotten so big that people no longer seem to trust or care about each other. Is that the way? Is it that way where you've been in Central America? No, Betty, no. You go down to Central America, just go to visit, go to Honduras, go to Nicaragua, Guatemala, any of these, El Salvador, and you're going to see friendly faces again. You're going to see smiles on those faces. You're going to see people who are warm and welcoming. Think about the people, we have that You Are There segment where I interview real people from those countries. Remember, I think it was Mario from El Salvador, Alyssa from Honduras, Giovanni from Nicaragua. Those are typical Central Americans, Latinos in those countries, okay? So they are still warm and they're friendly. what's happened in the U.S. is, I call it the curse of bigness, okay? It's gotten so big that it's become divided. You remember what Lincoln said? A house divided cannot stand. It's become a house divided. Just the bigness. Every corporation is big now. Every store is big now. It used to be you walked into your local hardware store. Hey, Bill. Hey, Jim. How you doing? You got any plywood that'll hurt? Oh, well, come on back here, Carter. Have a look at it. Now, you know, Lowe's. I worked at Lowe's. I love Lowe's. I love the people there, but they see thousands of people a day. You're in some ways a number. You're in some ways a number to them. So it's the curse of bigness, okay? And they've driven all the little guys. Walmart, driven all the little guys out of business. The people that we used to know and like. When I was a kid in Williamsport, Maryland, before we moved to the big city, Lewis was 5 and dime. Hey, Mr. Lewis, do you have any flyers I can carry around? And then he'd pay me in baseball cards. I'm serious. It was wonderful, okay? I got Mickey Mantle. So here those days are gone. And the bigness just becomes more oppressive and oppressive. Down there, it's not big. You still have small towns. You still have small stores. You still have that feeling of camaraderie that used to make America so special. So, Betty, make your move. If you long for those days again, they're still there. Okay? They're still there. And you don't have to go back in time. You can have all the modern conveniences with all the old-fashioned old neighborhood type warmth and friendliness. Okay. So that's it. That's it, folks. That's the answer to this. 2 important questions, right? Will you agree with me? Those are 2 important questions, and I hope I answered them sufficiently. If not, drop me a note. Say, Carter, you need to elaborate a little more. I hope I did it. I hope I got the messages across there from both perspectives. Okay. So that's your mailbag. Keep those cards and letters coming, and I will keep answering. Remember, any email you send me, any text message, whatever, I always answer. Okay. Then I select a couple, like I just did, to answer right here on Coffee with Carib Carter, live and in person. Okay. And now let's talk to somebody else who has answers for you that I promised earlier. Answers about the tax situation. Okay. The tax situation. We know that Elizabeth Warren has introduced her IRS Restoration Act. I had no idea the damn thing even needed restoring. It seemed pretty big to me. But she's introduced that. There's going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of more agents. You need a way to legally, since they're always watching, legally keep it down to a minimum, and especially when it comes to your move offshore. So let's talk to Jim Bennett about that, and let Jim tell us what's going on in the tax world, how you can help fight for tax freedom with the fair tax. All right, folks, I promised you an incredible interview today. And so we're going to get to it. It's with Jim Bennett. Jim Bennett is with fairtax.org. Okay. It is the leading organization in America to help fight this overwhelming taxation that we're being burdened with now. Jim is the grassroots coordinator, secretary, board member. Jim, welcome to Coffee with Carib Carter. How are you?
I'm great, Carter. Thanks for having me on.
It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure. You are the tax expert. The only thing I know about taxes is I don't want to pay them, and I think they're overwhelming and unspeakable. That's it. That's my knowledge. How do we get out of this, especially with folks who move offshore, which is what Offshore Club is all about?
Well, I have just the solution, Carter. And I think you're giving me too much credit for calling me a tax expert. I know this particular piece of legislation because I've kind of been at it for the past 20 years.
All right.
Fair tax is a bill in Congress, and it's HR 25 for those who want to look it up. And what it does is it eliminates subtitles A, B, and C of the Internal Revenue Code. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with what those subtitles are, and most people aren't, and what's particularly interesting for people who are offshore is that it gets rid of A is income taxes, individual, corporate, alternative minimum, interest, dividends, all sorts of investment income. So those go away.
Excellent.
Subtitle B is your payroll and self-employment taxes. So those go away. And subtitle C are your payroll taxes. That's what we use to fund Social Security and Medicare. Now, the programs domestically don't go away, but those taxes do. Now, here's what your people are going to really get a kick out of. We replace these taxes with dollar for dollar. So it's revenue neutral. Uncle Sam gets the same amount of money from our tax as he gets from the taxes that are replaced, with a consumption tax on all services and all new tangible goods, no exceptions. So we tax food, we tax clothing, and I'll tell you how we get rid of the regressive problem in a moment. Sold in the United States to a consumer. So that means that if you live outside the United States, we don't reach you anymore. There's no income tax form to fill out on April 15th. So
hear that, folks. Hear, folks. You can escape by moving offshore. Thank God. All right.
Well, you will if we get our tax passed.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So
yes, it's dependent on that. So support fairtax.org, folks.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been a bill in Congress since 1998, and we've transitioned from being a lobbying organization to being a grassroots organization. So we think that what we like about that is, in addition to the problem that this presents for people who live outside the United States, and I was one. I lived in Germany for 6 years. Agreed with Uncle Sam, so I wasn't affected by German taxes, but I was one of the 0.1% of the people who got out of the Army and stayed in Germany. I had to go back to Fort Dix to get my discharge, but then I turned around, went right back to Germany, and worked for an insurance company in Cologne.
Very nice.
And so I felt the full brunt of competing tax systems. And what I didn't like about it was that I got the worst of both tax worlds. And to use a really simple example, let's say I were to have won 1 million marks. That was the coin of the realm back then. Now it's euros, but it was marks.
Right.
In the South German lottery. That would have been tax-free in Germany, but I would have had to report it on an American tax return. And let's look at the flip side. Let's say I invested in tax-free municipals in the United States. That would have been tax-free in the United States, but it would have been reportable as income in Germany. So either way, you just couldn't win. And that was one of the aspects of living abroad as an American citizen that was uniquely unfair.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Jim. I think of myself, I have 2 homes in Honduras. My wife and I'll be moving there very shortly. And if I live in Honduras, I work in Honduras, the U.S. government still reaches over, tracks me down, and takes my money. Now, I am not getting any services whatsoever from the United States government, and yet they pick my pocket. Your bill's going to help put an end to that, right?
It sure will, because we only tax consumption in the United States. So if you're living in Honduras and you travel to the United States and you rent a hotel room, you're helping to pay for my Social Security. But if you stay in Honduras and do all your consumption in Honduras, you can do whatever you want. And as far as Uncle Sam's concerned, it's none of his business.
Amen. Well said. None of his business. Now, it's so funny, folks. Right before we came on, Jim and I were chit-chatting about this, and I was saying the U.S. is the only country in the world that robs people who don't even live here. And Jim corrected me. What is the other country that does it?
It's Eritrea. It's a little breakaway country in Africa from, I think, Ethiopia.
It is broke away from Ethiopia. Folks, those of you, if anybody is watching in Eritrea, move back to Ethiopia. Don't let them do that to you. Just like I don't want our Offshore Club members having the U.S. do it to them. It's just horrifying. horrifying. Now, the U.S. income tax, they bring in about, I think, $2 trillion a year, right? Whereupon the government spends $4 trillion, and in Biden's new budget, it will be $6 trillion.
That sounds about right.
Do you live like that at your house?
I hope not. No, I find I've been retired for 4 years, and I find my cash flow in retirement is actually better than my cash flow when I was working. But that's because certain insurance programs I'm no longer paying for, and I'm getting paid from. So,
excellent.
But no, I live on a balanced budget. I pay my credit cards at the end of the month every month, and I actually pay in advance for charges that have been incurred but haven't been put on the bill yet. And I don't owe anything on a mortgage. I don't have any debt. So I would say I do not live the way Uncle Sam lives.
No, and none of us do, and none of us should. Let me ask you this: because we have Offshore Club members, have over 100,000 members all across the country. And folks, every one of you, I encourage, sign up with fairtax.org for your own sake and for your family and your friends and your neighbors, everybody. But who are the champions of tax reform in the House and Senate, so that if anybody is from those states or districts, they know they have someone they can talk to and get behind them and push this thing through, for God's sake?
Well, I can tell you who the sponsor is. It's Buddy Carter from the 7th District of Georgia. That's down around Savannah.
All right.
And we have 27 sponsors. At our peak, we had more. But and this is interesting, when I lived in Germany in the 70s, I couldn't vote in a U.S. election. There's been a change in the law so that now expatriate Americans can vote in the last congressional district to which they had a nexus for federal offices. Now,
good.
I'll tell you one thing that has happened to U.S. expats that didn't bother me when I was living there. It's called FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax, something. It's basically it wants to punish Americans who open bank accounts in foreign countries. And the IRS thinks that those bad Americans are doing that to avoid U.S. income tax. And the result is that American expats have a hard time opening bank accounts in foreign countries, because most foreign countries see an American and they just don't want to deal with the regulations.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, maybe unless you find a branch of Bank of America or Chase or something like that, then you have a problem.
Yep. Yeah. Horrible problem.
Yeah. I guess to get back to who we do have 27 sponsors. You can go to congress.gov and look up HR 25 and see who they are and when they signed on. So, but one of our activists in the 1st Congressional District of New Jersey is trying to, by the way, the sponsors are all Republican right now, but we are nonpartisan. We tried to, when the first fair tax was first introduced in 1998, the rule was that if you were a member of one party and co-sponsored the bill, bring on a member from the other party. So we had 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats initially,
right? And
that's how it worked. But unfortunately, with the atmosphere in Congress today, that has been poisoned, and it's made it very difficult for the fair tax to be a bipartisan bill. So that's why all our sponsors are Republicans. Our activist in Collingswood, New Jersey, is trying to correspond with the staff of Republicans in states where there is a co-sponsor, and try to get the other Republicans to sign on. But it's a little more difficult than his first task, because these are people who haven't yet embraced the fair tax bill.
Right. I understand that completely. So we had Elizabeth Warren introduce recently the name of this bill just kills me. I know it does you too. The IRS Restoration Act, she calls it. Now, I didn't know the damn IRS needed to be restored. It seems pretty big and powerful to me, but I think $30 billion to hire 10,000 new agents to spread out across the country and bang on bang. We're here to audit your taxes, see if we can get more. Is there any way to get these people under control? I mean, you have to work in that atmosphere.
Oh yeah, well, sure, of course. It's obviously the mandate of the IRS has increased, particularly with the Affordable Care Act and other acts. So when mandates increase, staffing has to increase, and so the IRS budget years ago was about $13 billion. But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
The 97% of the iceberg that's under the surface are the compliance costs with the tax code because it's so complex. Anybody who doesn't have the simplest of tax returns has to hire an accountant, or in my case, I use tax software, TurboTax, to do my taxes every year.
Right.
And people shouldn't have to do that. But I think the one of the things that Americans overseas can do is, if they can somehow organize, they do have a vote, and they can go on the website of their senators and Congress members and let it be known that they want the Congress member, whatever his or her party is, to support HR 25, the fair tax.
Fantastic. That's excellent. You remember Walter Williams, just the great black economist who died, I think, a year or so ago. Brilliant man. I'll never forget him saying, I was in a meeting with him in Washington, and he said, it seems to me that if 10% is good enough for God, it should be good enough for government in terms
Amen.
of taxes. Amen. And the fact of the matter is, you get to places like Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Paraguay, even Panama, and that's about where the income tax is. Now, under your bill, and again, folks, go to fairtax.org, climb on board for your own sake. It gets rid of the income tax altogether, right?
It sure does. And it replaces it with the consumption tax that I just described.
Good.
Now, some people at first blush get sticker shock when I mentioned the rate. It's 23% tax inclusive, and it's on everything, no exceptions.
Right.
But think about this. First, and to explain what tax exclusive means, let's say that you buy a pen at Staples for $1, and it's marked for $1, and that doesn't include state sales tax.
Right.
And I can get into that in a minute. But 23 cents of that cost of the pen is tax, and 77 cents is the cost of the pen, not including the tax. So that's
Right.
what we mean by tax inclusive. Now, let's suppose that today you're buying a jacket in a store, and it's marked today for $100.
Okay.
Now, we think our economist says that 12.5% of the cost of that jacket is embedded tax costs. So if we take out the embedded tax costs, then the pre-tax price of the jacket drops to $87.50.
Yes.
You add the fair tax back in, and the price goes up to a little bit south of $114. But let's look at the other side of the equation.
All right.
If you're a wage earner, and you're paying Social Security, we think that you have to earn or gross $126 in order to have $100 in your pocket to pay for that jacket.
Very
Now,
good.
under the fair tax, the first thing that happens is you get to bring home the entire $126. So you're by that measure, you can afford the $114 jacket, and you're $12 ahead by my fingers and toes.
Excellent.
Of course, that's a very simple example, but we
Yeah,
assume
that's a good
that
example.
yeah, we assume that if there's any elasticity of demand and any modicum of competition, that we think that the pre-tax prices, including the tax compliance cost by the businesses, will come out. So that makes the United States a very competitive country. In fact, competitive with the Cayman Islands, Singapore, Hong Kong, and other tax havens.
That's
So
right. That's right.
I don't know. Maybe maybe American expats may want to move back here if we get the fair tax.
It may be. I think, we have the sun, sand, and surf down there too, and the cost of living, I think, is about places like Nicaragua, Honduras. So I think it's about 1/5 of what it is up here to begin with. So,
Wow.
but that's still an enticement. That's still an enticement. At least they won't get hit with the government taking their money and spending it on every damn thing that they don't want to spend on to begin with. So it's fantastic. On behalf of the members, I want to thank you for what you're doing. It's fantastic. It is great. And I want to thank you for joining us. I want to encourage folks. Jim Bennett, he is in your corner. Go to fairtax.org, sign up. And when they go, is there a membership somewhere to join on a membership newsletter? What should they do?
What you can do is you can scroll down to get information.
All right.
And even though you go into our database, we do not sell the list. So you're not going to get spam.
Very
And
good. Okay.
that way, if you put in all your information, we know where you are. And well, domestically, that helps us to identify you by congressional district. But
Good.
we may want to start a project of having people finding out what countries people live in and find out what congressional districts they were connected to. So
Excellent.
that might be a good idea.
That's a great idea. Jim, thank you very, very much. It's been terrific. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
Carter.
you joining us. And we'll do this again for an update a little ways down the road. Sound good?
That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you very much. There you go, folks. Excellent. Great, great organization fighting on your behalf against the Leviathan. I call the IRS the Leviathan. Remember the creature in mythology with the came in and multi-headed, tried to get everything you had, and they're fighting it. So it's great having them here. Go there, fairtax.org, and yeah, let's join together. And then let's get offshore so we don't have to worry about it. Great guy, just great guy. I really like Jim. I've known him for years. He's a super guy, good and decent and sincere as the day is long, and smart, as you can just see for yourself. So, folks, go to fairtax.org and join up. You really help them help you. Help them help you. It's a good organization. It's very, very good. And it can make a huge difference in your life. And it can help you. And that, tell the IRS, when I move out, you don't come with me. Okay. I'm not bringing you out of my luggage. So don't tag along. So we appreciate Jim's input. It's fantastic. It is fantastic. And now let's look at some of the places you can move offshore. Okay. Today I'm going to take a unique approach and not compare, but talk about two different kinds of residential resort communities. Okay. The first one, La Ceiba Beach Club. Okay. LaCeibaBeachClub.org. What am I talking about? LaCeibaBeachClub.com. It is where, as you all know, because I've said it 1,000,001 times, I bought my home. Let me get my picture out here. You're going to say, Carter, we've seen it 1,000,001 times. I know, but I like it. Okay, folks, $30,000, 2 bedrooms. The front yard is the beach. Look at that. I don't tend to those flowers. Okay, full-time gardeners, incredible community, gated, guarded. Here's a video I did earlier about the La Ceiba Beach Club. I talk about it in this video, and also it sets the stage as to why you need to make your move to La Ceiba Beach Club. So, super producer Gary, let's roll that baby. All right, there you have it. There's one of your residential resort options that is very, very viable, as you can see. When you can get a home at a place like La Ceiba Beach Club, LaCeibaBeachClub.com, for mine's $30,000. There's one very similar to mine next door to mine that's, I think, is at 35 or 40 now, because prices are going up. But even the big, giant, gorgeous homes there are selling for well under 200,000. Okay, I mean, I showed that to you earlier. You can't beat that, folks, for that price. So Now, that is what I would call, let's call it limited amenities, okay? Because there's a clubhouse there and all that, and it's just going to continue to develop. But they're not restaurants. It's not as sophisticated, okay, an environment as the one we're going to talk about now. So you have a comparison, because I know different people have different needs. Like for me, LaCeiba Beach Club's perfect. I don't need all the restaurants and stores right there, okay, because it's only 15 minutes from the city of LaCeiba. Some people want everything walkable community. All right, well, that's this one. Okay. Grand Pacifica in Nicaragua. Look at that. Just look at that. That's a Mike Cobb community, folks. Everything is there for you. Has its own water system, its own road system, its own electric system. Look at these homes. And remember, it's on 3.5 miles of ocean front. Okay. I think LaCeiba Beach Club is on 2.5. All right. Look at this. Look at this. Typically, here's a home here at Grand Pacifica that you can get for, I think that one is well under 200,000. Okay. It's a gorgeous home. That's a gorgeous home in a totally developed community, a Mike Cobb community. That's the creme de la creme. That's all the amenities. Okay. That's all the amenities at that low of a price. Remember, at LaCeiba Beach Club, lower prices, but not all, and still a residential resort community, gated, gardened for 100 to 150,000, let's say. Okay. Grand Pacifica, all the amenities, and the homes start, a single unit home like this starts at, probably a little under 200, and they go all the way up probably to hundreds of million, probably. Okay. If that's what you want. Okay. Or in the high hundreds of thousands. Okay. So, but they're everything. It's like when you used to go to the gas station and they wash the windows and check the oil. Everything is done for you. Now, also at Grand Pacifica, they have the cozy homes, which are just over 100,000. Okay. Now, these homes are about 500 to 700 square feet indoors. But keep in mind that in the Caribbean, you spend all your time outdoor. So the veranda, the porch there, it's another 300 to 500 square feet. So that makes that become a pretty big home for an incredibly low price. Okay. Talking Grand Pacifica here. The amenities, world-class restaurant. Okay. World-class restaurant, golf, horseback riding. Look at that. The old couple sitting there. You can't beat that. One final note. I like this. Financing. I think at grandpacifica.com, you can get up to 80% financing. Okay. So there you have it. There you have your $1,000 listing Caribbean in two different ways. Okay. Remember, I tell you about the one-offs all the time. These are two residential resort communities, LaCeiba Beach Club, Honduras, Grand Pacifica, Nicaragua, two different approaches, let's say. I don't even want to say levels, two different approaches. One, all the amenities, the other, sufficient amenities, but you're a little more on your own. Both though gated, garden communities that are, as far as I'm concerned, just commodious, even luxurious. Okay. So there you have it. There's it. Check them out. Check them both out. Make your decision, and then take a trip down. If you want to go down, let me know if you want to go down. You can rent my place at LaCeiba Beach Club. They have rentals at Grand Pacifica. They have a rental program at Grand Pacifica. So if you buy there, they could even help you get cash flow. All right. So check them out. Look them over at the website. Maybe go down and check them out in person. But as we discussed a little earlier in my note to Sammy B there in New York, be deliberate, but don't take too long. Don't be in the he who hesitates is lost category, because Right now it's a buyer's market, but the buyers are coming in, and it's always good to get in early. Okay, it's always good to get in early. All right, and to help you do just that, we're going to finish up with a motivation moment that I think is really important. And I want you to do me a favor. I want you to watch it the whole way through. It's a little longer than most. It's about 5 minutes, okay? But it's 5 of the best minutes you're ever going to spend, okay? Because what Chaz Palminteri has to tell you about, packing living into your life, and why it's important for you to do it, I think you're going to find very inspiring and very, very helpful. So let's roll it.
Billions of people have been born before us. How many? I mean, could you count how many? I mean, trillions probably. They thought they were special. They thought they were somebody. They're gone. So what makes us so special? But let me tell you what I want to talk about. I want to talk about death. Don't be a coward. If you shut it off, then I know you're a coward and you're not facing the truth. I was watching something with Gary V, who's really just incredible. I think he's terrific. And somebody asked him, they said, inspire me. And he looked at the girl and he said, you're going to die. And she smiled and kissed him and said, thank you. And I looked at that and I said, wow. Because I understood what he said. I totally understood what he said. When you get older, you understand these things. When you're young, you don't think about death. Death? What are you kidding? I'm going to live forever. And I think that's the problem with people. They think about it, but then it goes away. It just goes away. You don't want to think about it. But you know what? You should think about it. I mean, it shouldn't consume you, but you should think about it, because if you think about it, then you realize your time is limited here. Do you have dreams? Do you have aspirations? Do you have things you want to do? Is there something that you always wanted to do, but you never did it? Think about that. Me as an actor and as a writer, I have more plays and more movies that I want to write. More movies that I want to do, more parts that I want to play. What's your dream? What is your dream? Because one day you're going to die. I think the main reason why people sabotage their own life, people maybe commit suicide. I'm not saying the only reason for all these things, but I'm saying a really main reason is that they're afraid to die and they won't confront it. So what they do is they strike out in different ways. I really believe that. I think 99% of the depression in this world, even though they don't say it, is they're afraid of death. Life is hard. When you realize it, it becomes easy. If there's something you really want to do, things on your, as they say, your bucket list or whatever, you got to do it. You got to try. You want to write a book, then write it. You want to write a screenplay, write it. You want to be an actor, go for it. You want to be a writer, go for it. You want to quit your job and do something else? I mean, look, you got a family, you got to think about that. But at least do it in an intelligent way. Prepare to do something else. The best way to fight the demons that chase you in the night is to stop and turn around. Turn around. Once you embrace it, you'll feel better. Enjoy life. Life is to be enjoyed. If you find somebody and want to get married, great. Some people like to live alone. Some people like to be alone, and that's okay. No one has to get married. Not everybody wants kids. Some people don't want kids. That's fine too. But that's the beauty of life. Live your life the way you see fit, the way you feel it's right. But here's the key. Don't be afraid when it's over. Don't be afraid of it. Because sometimes the more you think about it, the more you project all these terrible things. It's the positive side of it. Think about it as the positive side. Write that book. Write that screenplay. Change your job. If you're with somebody that makes you unhappy, get out. Get out. It's always the same. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. Well, you know what? When you have fear, that's a good sign. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Remember that, folks. Nothing. The more comfortable you are, the more you're probably not growing. We only learn from our failures, from our mistakes. But you don't expect young people to really understand that. Because when I was young, in my teens and 20s, even 30s, I thought, forget it, I'm going to be around forever. And do you ever notice the older you get, the faster the days go? We're all in this together. All right? The house is going to win eventually, so let's go down with as many chips as we have. And what are those chips? Moments. Life is made of moments. At the end of your life, you just want more great moments than you had sad moments. Basically, that's it, right here. You wait. Better great moments, not too great sad moments.
There you have it. I love it when he says, what's your dream? What is your dream? Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what your Offshore Club is all about. That's what your Gazette is all about. That's what all of our podcasts are all about. What is your dream? Okay. You know, I have a feeling that for those who are members of the Offshore Club, and there are over 100,000 of us now, your dream is not where you find yourself today. Okay. Where you find yourself today, in some ways a little trapped even. Your dream is to live the good life at a great price. Your dream is to enjoy life in the sun, sand, and surf, and especially in this remote era where you can work from remote, you can live remote. There's every reason to make those dreams come true. So, as I tell you every week, don't wait one more minute, okay? Jump in with both feet. Make your dream come true. So, you know, as Chaz says, when you look back, you can say, I did it. I did it all. I did it my way. Okay, let's do this thing.